guys, welcome back to the Momma Nurse channel. I'm Vanessa and today we're going to discuss all things travel nursing and we're going to try to do it in 15 minutes or less. Let's go. First things first, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you are a travel nurse or you are planning to travel, go ahead and drop it down below. Let me know what your ideal location is. What's the place that you are dying to visit and try to work as a nurse? So about a year before I made the decision to start travel nursing, I went ahead and joined Facebook groups. There's plenty out there for travel nurses with families that discuss all things, whether it be housing, insurance, what hospitals not to go to, and what hospitals to visit. So go ahead and start joining Facebook groups. You really get a broad range of information, even pay information. So go ahead and join those groups. You can chat with different people on there and just kind of get an insight of what to expect once you begin your travel endeavors. Once you start doing your research on the groups and everything like that, they usually have links to different websites that are definitely beneficial. They have sites that show what hospitals cancel people the most, what hospitals do not live up to their contract, and things like that. So make sure you check those out. I will link some down below, so make sure you check my description box for links for all of your travel nurse questions. The first thing you want to do is find your company. So what I did when I was trying to figure out who to go with, I went ahead and Googled the top 10 travel nurse companies, and from that list I think I broke it down to about 5. Those 5, I went to their websites, I did a little bit of digging, and I narrowed it down to 3. Once I got to my top 3, those were the ones that I reached out to, got assigned recruiters, and submitted my information with. There, I narrowed it down to my top company, and the reason being was because the recruiter was really open, she was honest, loved her dearly. One of the other companies that I was really gonna go with was the recruiter wasn't that open. I felt like I was pulling teeth trying to get information from him. So as a new travel nurse, I wanted somebody who was going to feed me the information rather than I have to know what to ask for. So I did go ahead and choose the other company, stayed with them for the duration of my contract. So when you are looking for your favorite company or the best company for you, you do want to figure out what's important to you, whether it's pay, location, insurance, or benefits. Narrow it down and figure out what's the deal breaker for you. For me personally, it was the benefits. I was traveling with my young ones, so I definitely wanted to make sure that they had insurance coverage in case of any accidents or anything like that. So that was a biggie for me. Some people, pay is the big thing. So if you're looking for pay, be upfront and let them know, hey, I'm looking for the highest paid contract. I don't care where it is. Just show me where the money is. If it's location, they do have some companies that specialize in certain states or certain areas because that's where they have their connections. Second thing, you want to make sure that you and your recruiter are a good match. You don't want a recruiter that you don't trust, that you don't feel is going to give you honest opinions and answers. You want somebody that you can depend on and that will portray you to the hospital in a better light or in the best light possible. So you want to make sure that you and your recruiter are a good match and that you trust them in order to submit you for a job. When it comes to gathering your documents, you want to go ahead and have your immunizations, your physical form from your physician. You want to have all of your certifications, all of your licenses. I went ahead and made a folder right on my desktop with all of my travel documents that I needed. Because if you do switch companies, have all of those documents handy and it will be easier to send them in once it's time for submission. Find the recruiter and find your company. You want to go ahead and do their assessments online. They typically have assessments just to make sure that you're competent in whatever specialty you're going into. So go ahead and do your assessments, submit all of your paperwork, which would be the licenses, certifications, and immunizations. Have all of that complete. That way your profile is complete, and when it's time for submission, they have all of your paperwork handy and they can send it right off to the hospital and the hospital can make an immediate decision. When hot jobs come around, they go really quickly. Find a hot job and you want to get submitted to it and you don't have all of your paperwork in, it's going to delay the process and somebody will get that position before you do. So make sure that all of your paperwork and everything is submitted prior to your first submission to a hospital. Once you are ready for submission, you do want to make sure that any hospital you tell your recruiter to submit you to, make sure that you would 100% accept the assignment if they were to offer you a position. The reason why I say that is because hospitals and recruiters or travel nurse companies, they end up forming a bond and they have a tight network that they work with. Some hospitals have preferences on what travel agencies they work with, and if you decide, oh no, I don't want to take this assignment, it can break that bond that they have, and that would either make the travel nurse company not want to work with you and it for future travel nurses that wanted to work with that hospital. Okay, so now that you got submitted for your first assignment, you wait. You will get either a phone call from the hospital directly, or they might try to do a Zoom call or a Skype call in order to do your interview. In that interview, they're going to ask what you're looking for, what experience you have, and just kind of get to know you a little bit better just to see if you'll be a good fit for their facility. Decide, yes, I want to hire you. Sometimes they'll tell you right there on the phone or on the video chat in order to get your agreements. In that phone interview, this is your time to vacation requests. If you have a certain schedule that you would like to work, for me personally, I wanted to do my 3 nights straight, so I requested that, and I had one holiday that I did not want to work, so I went ahead and let them know during the phone interview, and I got the okay for all of that. I did get hired on the spot, so my travel recruiter ended up calling me later just to finalize all details. They'll have onboarding assessments and quizzes to do prior to arriving at the facility. Please be mindful of your time because these can be very time consuming. I think it took me like a couple days, honestly, to get my onboarding done. So just make sure that you don't wait till the last minute. And typically they want all of the onboarding complete prior to the start of your assignment. Usually it will be the Friday afternoon and then you start your job on Monday. So make sure that everything is done. Typically on Fridays, it seems to slow down a little bit. So it might take a little bit longer. So the earlier you can get it in, the better. And depending on the company, you will get paid for all of the onboarding that you do at home. Depending on the facility, you might have 1 or 2 days of hospital orientation. As nurses, you know that they'll have like a generalized orientation, and then you will get 1 or 2 shifts on the floor of the unit that you're working on. It all depends on the hospital and the facility. I have worked with travelers in the past who only got 1 shift or even half a shift, and then they were expected to hit the ground running. So you really want to make sure that you know your basic skills and that you feel competent. Once you get to the floor, you're mainly just going to learn how to use their Pyxis or whatever med dispense that they have in their facility, as well as the charting. You can get a little practice with the charting during your onboarding process, but once you get to the facility, you really want to try to work with it, play with it a little bit, and ask questions on anything that you're not familiar with. One thing that you can do, if you know that you're not really computer savvy, narrow down your assignments by the type of charting system that they use. So if you're familiar with Epic or you're familiar with Cerner and that's the only one that you want to work with, you can narrow down your list by that so that it's one less thing to worry about once you get to your first assignment. Okay, so now you're on your own, you have your own patient load, you work either your 8 to 13 week assignment. Now what do? You can either decide to extend your contract, or you can end your contract, finish it up, and find a new facility, a new company, whatever the case may be. I personally extended with my facility 3 times. So I did 3 contract extensions, and I did ask for a bonus. You can ask for bonuses or a pay increase for each extension. So my travel company did give me a bonus for each time that I extended, which was, so just make sure you figure out what your company is going to offer so that you don't get the short end of the stick. Each time you extend, you will have to sign a new contract. So make sure that you are reading through your contracts and make sure that everything that you need is written in there, because if you sign it and then figure out later, oh, they didn't give me this or they're not doing that, you do want to make sure that all of that is stated in your contract so that you have paperwork to back it up. When it comes to contracts, if you do have any requests for holidays off or anything like that, make sure that it's stated in your contract. The facility, there's no discrepancies and you are honored the days that you requested off. So a few things to keep in mind: you cannot be in any one location for more than 1 year. So you have 365 days to be at one assignment, then you have to move on to a new location. The reason being, on that 366th day, the IRS would basically consider you a resident of that area. So in order to not get audited by IRS, then you need to make sure that 365 days you go on to a new location. Whatever time you spend in that location, you have to leave for that same amount of time in order to be able to go back and start a new travel assignment there. So if you go to California for 1 year, you have to leave for 1 year in order to go back and travel there again. You can do different cities, and that's okay within the same state, but you need to make sure that you have a new zip code so that it's not considered the same location. Housing, you have to have a primary residence, whether it be an apartment that you're renting, a room that you're renting, a house that you have a mortgage for. You have to keep that primary residence while you are travel nursing. That's how you get your housing stipend, so that you can manage and pay for both locations. You have to pay for your home residence as well as wherever you are traveling to, pay for housing over there. That's how you get your tax-free stipend. So just make sure that you are keeping that in mind. If you are currently renting until their lease is up, and then they may just rent out a room at a family member's house or a friend's house and things, tax purposes, and they will need to have that documented. Make sure that you have a paper trail to show that you were paying for the room or the lease or whatever it may be, and it does have to be for a fair market value. The thing about housing, while you are making a decision on a location, that's when you kind of want to do a quick run through and see if you can find affordable housing there in that location, because you don't want to go ahead and submit to a hospital and then realize, well, housing rates are out of whack or too high, I can't afford it. So you do want to do a rough estimate on how much you would be spending to make sure that the amount that they are willing to pay you is going to cover both places, your home residence as well as your travel assignment residence. So make sure that you are joining Facebook groups, get all the details that you can, do your research before you venture out and travel. It really will help you in the end. That's what helped me. So make sure that you are doing your research. Like I said, I will have links in my description box for various sites that will help you. There is also a book that you can read on the travel nurse journey. So make sure that you check that out as well. I'll leave it linked down below. Hey guys, so I was editing and realized that I did not touch base on my travel nurse experience. So like I said in the past, I traveled at my facility for a year. I didn't have any horror stories, thankfully. The facility and all of the units that I traveled on were really, really nice. I traveled as a med-surg nurse, so I went to med-surg oncology, med-surg neuro, med-surg GYN, cardiac. I went to basically all of them. and each unit I went to, I formed bonds with everybody. They do float you quite a bit. The unit that I got hired for, they ended up doing some reconstruction on that unit, so they ended up shutting down like half a unit at a time, float a little bit more, but honestly I like the experience, and it kind of broke up the redundancy of just that one unit that I was on. So I really like that, and I got to meet some pretty cool people. Don't always give you the worst of the worst assignments. I had pretty good assignments when I was there. I always say you get what you put into things. If you go there stuck up, then yeah, you might get the worst assignments possible. But if you go there as a nurse and knowing that they need your help, but not in a cocky way, then you can form bonds and you'll have a good experience. So in all, I would definitely travel again. It really brightens your horizons. I definitely wanted to travel with a specialty under my belt. So now that I do have 2 years of trauma ICU experience, it's possible that I might start traveling as an ICU nurse. Only time will tell, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I had a great experience on my travel adventure, and I hope you guys do too. If there's anything that I didn't touch base on that you need to know or would like to know, please drop it down below. I would love to answer any questions on anything that I didn't cover or anything that you need me to elaborate on more. Hopefully I made this down to 15 minutes or less. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, stay safe, be well, and live life.